What if I told you there is a Christian church that has been worshiping without interruption since the first century? A church that has a Bible with 81 books, while yours has 66. A church that observes the Saturday Sabbath and keeps the dietary laws of Leviticus. A church that carries a replica of the Ark of the Covenant in every single one of its parishes during worship. A church that baptizes its members and then immediately circumcises the males on the 8th day. A church that has preserved texts, traditions, and practices that the Western Church lost or abandoned over 1,000 years ago. That church exists. It has existed for 17 centuries, and it is in Africa. It is the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and what they kept while everyone else was letting it go is extraordinary.
Welcome back to Forgotten Tribes and Scrolls. Today, we open the scroll on the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, one of the oldest and most extraordinary Christian institutions on earth. A church that traces its origins directly to the Ethiopian eunuch of Acts chapter 8. A church that has maintained an unbroken Christian tradition for 17 centuries. And a church that has preserved things, texts, practices, objects, traditions that the rest of the Christian world has never seen or has long forgotten. Let's get into it. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church does not trace its formal establishment to a missionary from Europe. It doesn't trace it to a colonial encounter. It traces it to two things. First, the Ethiopian eunuch of Acts chapter 8, who we have already studied in this series. The royal official of Queen Candace, who was baptized by Philip on a desert road and went home to Ethiopia carrying the gospel. Early church historians, including Eusebius, record that he became the first evangelist of the Ethiopian people. Second, and this is the moment that formally established the church as an institution, the conversion of King Ezana of Axum around 330 AD. King Ezana was the ruler of the Axumite Empire, one of the most powerful kingdoms in the ancient world. His conversion to Christianity made Ethiopia one of the first nations on earth to officially adopt Christianity as its state religion. Before most of Europe was Christian, before the Roman Empire made Christianity its official religion, Ethiopia was already a Christian nation. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church was not planted by outsiders. It grew from within. From the desert road in Acts 8 to the throne of Axum, Africa became Christian early, and it stayed Christian.
Here is where things get immediately interesting for anyone who loves Scripture. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church does not use a 66-book Bible. It uses an 81-book Bible. The Protestant canon has 66 books. The Catholic canon has 73 books. The Ethiopian Orthodox canon has 81 books. That means the Ethiopian Church considers 15 books to be Holy Scripture that the Protestant world does not even read. What are those extra books? Some of them are texts you may have heard of. The Book of Enoch, which we covered in detail in our last series. The Book of Jubilees, the ancient text that retells Genesis with extraordinary additional detail. The Shepherd of Hermas, 1st and 2nd Maccabean, Ethiopian books that are sometimes compared to the Maccabees, but are entirely distinct texts not found in any other biblical canon in the world. The Book of Clement. These are not books that Ethiopia invented recently. These are ancient texts that the Ethiopian Church has considered canonical from its earliest centuries. While the Western Church was narrowing its canon, Ethiopia was maintaining a broader and older tradition of sacred literature. The question worth asking is not why Ethiopia has more books in its Bible. The question is why everyone else has fewer.
This is one of the most striking features of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and one that most Western Christians find immediately surprising. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church observes both Saturday and Sunday as sacred days. Saturday, the seventh-day Sabbath of the Old Testament, and Sunday, the Lord's Day of the New Testament resurrection. Both, every week. The Saturday Sabbath has been observed by the Ethiopian Church since its earliest centuries. They did not adopt it recently. They never stopped. While the Western Church gradually shifted its entire sacred calendar to Sunday alone, the Ethiopian Church maintained the Saturday Sabbath alongside Sunday worship. They read the Torah, they observe the rest, they honor the seventh day as commanded in Exodus chapter 20, and they do so alongside their full New Testament Sunday resurrection worship. This is not a theological compromise or a confusion of the Testaments. It is a deliberate preservation of the full biblical calendar that the earliest Jewish Christian communities observed. The Ethiopian Church did not choose between the Old and New Testament. They kept both.
Every single Ethiopian Orthodox Church in the world, every one of them, contains a tabot. The tabot is a consecrated replica of the Ark of the Covenant, specifically of the tablets of the law that were inside the Ark. It is kept in the inner sanctuary of the church, the Holy of Holies, which only the priests may enter. It is the most sacred object in every Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Worship cannot be performed in an Ethiopian Orthodox Church without the presence of the tabot. During the great feast of Timkat, the Ethiopian celebration of the baptism of Jesus, the tabot is carried out from the Holy of Holies by the priests in a grand procession. The priests are dressed in elaborate ceremonial robes. The tabot is covered in rich cloth. Music plays. Crowds line the streets. The procession moves to a body of water where a blessing ceremony takes place. This is not a modern tradition invented for cultural identity. It is a practice rooted in the ancient connection between the Ethiopian Church and the Ark of the Covenant tradition we explored in our last episode. Every Ethiopian Orthodox Church is a temple. Every tabot is a reminder that the presence of God dwells among his people. And the entire tradition has been maintained continuously for 17 centuries.
The Ethiopian Orthodox Church observes dietary laws drawn directly from Leviticus chapter 11. Pork is forbidden, shellfish is forbidden. The dietary restrictions of the Mosaic Law are maintained as part of Orthodox Christian practice, not because Ethiopian Christians believe they are saved by the law, but because they have never separated themselves from the full biblical tradition that the law represents. They also practice male circumcision. Ethiopian Orthodox Christian boys are circumcised, typically on the 8th day after birth for boys, and the equivalent ceremony for girls on the 15th day. This practice is maintained alongside baptism, not instead of it. The Ethiopian Church never had a Council of Jerusalem moment where it decided to abandon circumcision for Gentile converts. It simply maintained the full practice of the ancient covenant alongside its New Testament faith. This dual maintenance of Old and New Testament practice is one of the most distinctive features of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. It did not have to choose between Abraham and Jesus. It kept both.
The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has one of the most rigorous fasting traditions of any Christian church on earth. Ethiopian Orthodox Christians observe over 200 fasting days per year. The major fasts include the Great Lent, 55 days of fasting before Easter, the Apostles' Fast, the Fast of the Prophets, the Fast of the Virgin Mary. During fasting periods, Ethiopian Orthodox Christians abstain from all animal products, meat, dairy, eggs, and eat only after midday. The prayer life of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is equally extraordinary. Ethiopian Orthodox monks and priests pray 7 times a day, following a liturgical prayer cycle that mirrors the ancient Jewish prayer tradition of Daniel, who prayed 3 times a day, and the psalmist who praised God 7 times a day. The liturgy is conducted in Ge'ez, the ancient Ethiopian sacred language, a language that has not been spoken as a common tongue for over 1,000 years, but which the Ethiopian Church has maintained as its liturgical language, just as the Catholic Church maintained Latin. Services can last for hours, some all-night vigils
From sunset to sunrise. This is not casual or comfortable Christianity. This is ancient, demanding, rooted, and it has been practiced without interruption for 17 centuries. Here is what strikes me most about the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. When the Western Church was debating which books to include in the canon, Ethiopia had already settled on 81. When the Western Church was abandoning Saturday Sabbath observance, Ethiopia kept both Saturday and Sunday. When the Western Church was moving away from dietary laws and circumcision, Ethiopia maintained them as part of a whole biblical faith. When the Western Church lost the Book of Enoch for over 1,000 years, Ethiopia kept it in its Bible. When the question arose of where the Ark of the Covenant went, Ethiopia said it never left. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church did not fall behind the Western Church. In many ways, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church preserved a fuller and more ancient form of biblical practice than the Western Church ever maintained. What looks like primitive or unusual to Western eyes is often simply old, older than most Western Christian traditions by several centuries. Africa did not receive a watered-down version of Christianity late in history. Africa received the full thing early, and Africa kept it. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has been worshiping continuously since the 1st century. It has a Bible with 81 books. It observes the Saturday Sabbath. It maintains the dietary laws of Leviticus. It circumcises its sons. It carries a replica of the Ark of the Covenant in every parish. It fasts over 200 days a year. It prays 7 times a day in an ancient language. And it has done all of this without interruption for 17 centuries. Not because it is confused about the gospel, but because it received the gospel in its fullest and most ancient form and never let any of it go. The oldest Christian nation on earth is in Africa, and what they kept while the rest of the world was letting it go is one of the most extraordinary stories in the entire history of the church.
Subscribe to Forgotten Tribes and Scrolls. Next episode, Nimrod, the son of Cush, the grandson of Ham, the first mighty man on earth, the founder of the first empire in human history, the builder of Babel. The most powerful political figure in the post-flood ancient world was an African man, and his story has been systematically downplayed for centuries. That episode is going to be something else entirely. See you there.